What's up guys, and welcome to the 64th Xamarin Android tutorial. So this video is going to be a continuation of the previous where we're looking over global values and how to set them and how to work with them and when to use them and when they're useful. So this video is going to concentrate a little more on how to access them during runtime. So we looked at like how to declare them in a separate file, and then how to of course reference them in our AXML files. So we learned how to do that. But now, what if we want to actually reference them through runtime and get their values and maybe change those values accordingly when different situations arise, all right? And we're also going to check out some dimensions as well and how to work with dimensions. And it's pretty much the same thing, but it's really a useful value and type that you can use to have global values for like density pixels or even like font sizes or something. So that's one of the things we're going to look at in this video as well. So let's first come over into our main activity. And as you noticed, if you did watch the previous video, that what we had was an application where we click on the value and it references, it gets the values, some other global values, and it actually changes the text values on runtime. So as you can see, all these values are now changed on this click event, okay? So nothing really too exciting. The exciting part, if you will, is the getting the values from the global resource. So remember that we have our colors right here. We have red, we have green, we have blue, and so on. So how do we get those values on runtime if we want, all right? So it's actually pretty simple. So what we could do is we can actually use the resources.getColor method, all right? But first, let's go ahead and let's grab some references to our text view so that we can go ahead and change them on runtime. So what we can do is text1. And then what I'll do is be a lazy programmer and just copy and paste so that we can have more time learning about values and not just typing on stuff that we probably already know. All right, so text4, and then of course we're going to want to copy this over here as well. So this will give us a reference to our text views, of course, inside of our design file. So text 1, 2, 3, and 4 are now referenced, and then we can go ahead and change their colors. So how do we actually get the color first? So say if we wanted to get this color, you know, purple. Well, what we can do is we could do resources. Well, how you get the actual integer value is resource.color, just like you do ID. It's the same thing for ID, right? But this time we're using color. So we do resource color, and then we have all our colors here listed, and then here's purple. But notice it's an integer. It says int color.purple. So purple is actually returned as the ID for that color, for that global color. So this value right here, purple, is not going to be given back. The global value itself and the ID of it will be returned. Okay, so we can't use that in its raw format because it's not an integer, of course. It's a color. It's a hex value. So what do we need to do to get the color? Well, we just need to add another method that wraps around the one that I just showed you, and that's resources. Remember, it's a property. So the s resources dot get color, and what get color does is it takes an integer value, a resource ID, if you will, and then it returns the specified value of it. So this is kind of like the key, if you will, in a way. It's the key. And then it returns the actual value, which is the color, which is the hex value. All right, so that's exactly what we need to pass it. Is we need to do resource color purple, and this returns an Android color. All right, which is the hex value. So all we need to do now is we need to do text1 set text color. Set text color returns takes a color state list. All right, and then all we need to do is wrap it in there, and voila. So that's gonna change the color to purple, but we'll do let's do blue for this one. And then what we'll do here is we'll do set text color, and we'll just do it again, guys. We're just gonna do get color. So we want to get the color from the resource ID, and then we want to of course give it the resource ID, which this one will turn to green. So this is the really basic way of how to get colors or any really value at this point or a global value at runtime. And notice that you can do the same thing. Let me show you after I type this. What you could do now is you can actually get the value of anything. All right. So let me go ahead and finish this off. So what we'll do is text for, and then we'll actually change the color of the button too. So we'll do button text color, and then this one we'll do black, and we'll do a red here for the button color. So, but I mean, that's how to get colors. But what if we wanted to get like the string value, of course, or what if we want to get a dimension or an integer or anything? So we can do resource dot get string, and then we can do resource string, and here's all our strings: text1, text2. This is the integer, the resource ID, and then this get string will take this and give us the actual value of it, which is text1, text2, and so on. And then it's exactly the same, guys, for like, you know, get dimension, which I'll show you here in a second. Get dimension, and then you can just do resource. So you get dimension, and it takes an ID, so we'll do resource dimension. And then of course it's just not showing up because of the fact that we don't have any dimension values. But if we did, the IntelliSense would pick that up. And say, as far as integers as well. So you get the picture, and that's pretty much the protocol to follow when you want something. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and run this and just make sure that it's working the way we want. And then next thing we'll go over is dimensions and when and how to use those as well. So what we should expect to see is the click event changing these colors, which they do in fact. So this method gets called and it works fine. Looking good, looking good. So what is the dimension? Well, I mean, if you haven't guessed yet, the dimension is just like a density pixel, like so how this one's, we give it that much padding, and then how if we want to change like the text size, we could do that here. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's go ahead and say we'll do dimen, okay, and then we'll do name equals, and we'll say we'll just call this one padding, something kind of generic, and 20 dp will be our value, and then this one is going to be, we'll do something like text size, and then 20 sp will be our value there. All right, so now we have two dimensions, and then we can go ahead and reference them just like we do with anything else. We can do at dimen, and then we'll do text size, so lowercase, make sure I don't forget that. So it does have to be exactly like that. And then we'll do, of course, at dimen, and then we'll do padding. All right, so it's going to run that. So I mean, what's really happening is that we're taking our values and we're putting them into a separate file, and Android is giving us the opportunity to really reuse a lot of our values in our code and not have to rewrite some stuff, and really, you know, change those values if we need it be later in the future, and then save us a lot more time. So as you can see, nothing's really have changed. I mean, we really didn't change something. We just changed where we're referencing it at, but you get the idea that that this is where to actually change and have your dimensions, and then this is where to have your colors, and then your strings. And then you can also have an integer. You would do you would do for integers, you would do integer name, and then so on, and you would have it in a separate file, of course. So I mean, the sky's really, you know, the limit with this, and you can really, you know, just take all your code and really just reference it in other places, and then just have a few files where all your values are. All right, so now that we have a dimension, we should be able to see it here. And there we have it. So we do dot, and then we have our padding, and we have our text size dimension. And the same thing is for integers as well. So if you're not seeing it right away, make sure what you do is when you add it, if you don't see it right away, make sure you do a full rebuild so that Xamarin can pick it up and in the files and see that there are in fact resources for dimension or whatever you're working with, and then that way that you can pick it up. Because sometimes when you don't see it in the IntelliSense, you're like, oh no, like, you know, it's not picking it up. It's gonna it's gonna break or it's not gonna run. So when really all it needs to do is just rebuild and kind of just refresh itself. All right. So there you have it, guys. There's really not too much just with global values, but like I said before, they're very helpful when your project starts to get large, and I definitely recommend using them for cases where you reference and you use a lot of the same colors and values. That way, it'll save you a lot more time in the future. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.